All right, so in the last video we did, we had bronze players submit their bronze tier list, and we were able to kind of look at some of the tier lists. This time around, we're doing the silver tier list, and we have a lot more of a sample size this time, which is really nice. The first tier list we're looking at here is a silver tank, who's also bronze on support and DPS, plays on console. The way their list was designed, they have S tier is busted, A tier is solid, B tier is good but needs help, and C tier doesn't do enough. So right away, I look at the S tier, and I'm just like, yeah, this is all over the place. Wrecking Ball in S tier, that makes sense this season. Symmetra in S tier, I can see it, especially on console, with obviously like Simtars can just probably dominate. Mei in S tier, yeah, that one confuses me a little bit. Is that because you're going up against Meis who wall off their own teammates? That one is surprising to me. Moira S tier, I see, that's what I expect a lot of the time. Moira is dominant. Zen in S tier, which is Zen dominated a lot in silver? I'm surprised by that. And Ramattra returns again on this tier list in S tier. We saw on the bronze tier list, Ramattra was the only S tier tank, or the only S tier hero on all the tier lists combined. Then we have like A tier, where it's just like Diva, Sigma, Soldier 76, Rein, Bastion, Ana, Torb, Reaper, Cass, Kiriko, Widow, Junker Queen, Hanzo, Echo, Mercy, Lucio, Doom. It kind of just really shows you how the balance has been in Season 3. Balance has been pretty good. I don't know, obviously in our tier list we have it a little bit different, but in silver games that seems about right. With this tier list, they had said, this is the B tier is good but needs help. So does need help mean like buffs? Is what that is? Because we have Pharah, Soldier, and Genji. All right. I can see Genji maybe needing some buffs. Roadhog in B tier, which Roadhog will probably get buffed when they do the changes to Roadhog. Zarya maybe needs a buff. Ashe, I'm surprised Ashe isn't an A tier. I just feel like Bob is so good. Bob is good when you don't send in Bob by yourself. If you send Bob in the middle of a team fight or with your team, Bob will get way more value. Orisa in B tier, I'm not surprised by that, although I thought Orisa would be A tier. Junkrat in B tier? Damn. Tracer in B tier, Bap in B tier, and Brig in B tier. Surprised by a couple of these heroes, but I can see it a little bit. And then C tier, Sombra and Winston. Sombra, yes. Winston, I would at least bump Winston up to B tier, but that's the first tier list we have. All right? That is the first tier list we looked at. This was from a console silver player. All right, on to the next one now. This one is a silver tank, bronze support, and DPS on PC. They had said that if you're a good Sombra, you'll be at the top of B tier. Apparently, if you're a bad Sombra, you'll be at the bottom of C tier. And then also explain it here, Mercy is an S tier because they said the Mercy changes made her pocket target much harder to kill in silver. So, start off with the tier list here. We have Torb in S tier. Not surprised. Soldier in S tier. Not surprised. Ramattra in S tier. I am seeing such a consistent thing with Ramattra being an S tier. It's very surprising to me. Reinhardt, not surprised. Bastion and Mercy. See, Bastion is really dominating in silver games. Like, I can see the first four, and then Mercy, like, I'm surprised. I feel like Mercy's going to be all over the place on tier list because Mercy's so good at pocketing heroes now and making sure, like, heroes that go below 50% can be unkillable. So I get that. A tier, we have Diva, Zen, Kiriko, Reaper, Soldier, Cass, Widow, Ana, Junkrat, Ashe, Pharah, Sigma, and Soldier. Now, this is a little bit different from the console list because we see heroes like Ashe and Pharah up in A tier. We see Soldier in A tier. A lot of the heroes here I'm not surprised by. I think this is a pretty solid A tier list. And B tier, we have Sombra, Orisa, Mei. Surprised. But this was say that a good Sombra will be in B, a bad Sombra will be in C, according to this tier list. Tracer. See, Tracer's pretty good right now, but in silver and bronze, I've noticed Tracer's a little bit lower on the tier list. Brig at B tier. Brig's gone a lot better this patch. Echo in B tier. I can see that. Hanzo B tier. Winston B tier. Moira B tier. Is Moira... I feel like Moira... Is Moira good in silver games? Because I feel like it'd be very much similar to like what bronze would be with like how good Moira can be. And then Bap. So we're kind of seeing some similarities with a lot of these heroes. And then C tier. Genji, Doom. You know, this probably comes down to like how difficult like Doom and Wrecking Ball can be played. Like, I don't think Wrecking Ball's in C tier, but I can also see like somebody who's like really bad at Wrecking Ball or like learning Wrecking Ball, including myself, who we've seen how my Wrecking Ball is. Like, it can take a while to learn. So you can either feed on Ball or you can pop off on Ball. Although I feel like Ball would probably or should be higher in general on this tier list only because I think you can still get value on Ball even if you feed with the current changes. Then we have Zarya. Not surprised by that. Junker Queen in C tier. I'm gonna be honest with you. Junker Queen is starting to become a bit of a sleeper pick. Junker Queen actually, in my opinion, like this is just obviously in top 500 games, is moving up to like B or A tier. Probably B tier, but Junker Queen's actually pretty good right now. Roadhog in C tier, I agree. And then here we go again. We talked about it on the last tier list. I feel like Lucio is one of those heroes that's all over the place on tier lists. Why? Because you either have the Lucio who plays Lucio, so you want Lucio to be played, or you have the Lucio who stands next to the team, only either heal boosts or speed boosts away from the whole team. So I always find that Lucio is everywhere on these tier lists. On to this tier list now. Right here, we have a silver support in DPS. They're also gold 5 on tank, so they have a little bit of experience in gold. On console. And then this tier list is based on who has most play of the games, stays alive, does the most damage, has the best overall game sense. Play of the games dictate where these heroes go on the tier list. But also who stays alive and does the most damage and then has the best overall game sense. But how do you dictate if the heroes have game sense? That's what I'm confused by here. Because one player could be really good at Sigma, and then one player could have no idea how to play Sigma. How does that... All right, well... I mean, I don't understand how this one goes, but... all right, sounds good. All right, we have Sigma in S tier. Great hero. I still think Sigma is one of the most well-balanced tanks in the game, if not the most balanced. D.Va in S tier. Reinhardt in S tier. And Symmetra. Reinhardt... Symmetra, I can see that. Sigma and D.Va, I'm seeing more towards A tier. But, hey, this is quite the tier list. A tier on this tier list. Roadhog, Orisa, Zarya, Hanzo, Cassidy, Ashe, Doomfist, Junkrat, Sojourn, Reaper, Torb, Bap, Kiriko, Mercy, Moira. Based on the tier list, which was based on who has the most play of the game, stays alive, does the most damage, has the best overall game sense, these are the A tier ones. Roadhog gets a lot of play of the games. Well, I guess Roadhog has survivability. B tier, Ramattra in B tier is surprising. Like I said, we've seen Ramattra like towards S tier or A tier a lot. Wrecking Ball in B tier. I'm noticing Wrecking Ball is a little bit lower than like, obviously like top 500 tier list, but that makes sense. Tracer B tier again. Okay, I'm seeing that consistent. Mei in B tier. Widow, Bastion, Soldier, Genji, Echo, Pharah, Lucio, Zen. That seems about right for, like, these tier lists we've seen. A or B tier. Junker Queen, Ana, Brig in C tier. I'm surprised by Junker Queen being in the C tier a lot. Ana and Brig, though? I mean, I guess if you're going off of play of the games, but, like, I feel like Ana and Brig are at least B tier in a lot of the ranks right now. And then D tier, Winston and Sombra. Okay, this is the second time we've seen Winston in, like, the lowest tier on the tier list. Is Winston that bad right now? I still feel like Winston is pretty good, so I'm just very surprised to see, like, Winston, like, in D tier. One person said Winston spends half the time respawning and Sombra spends half the time doing nothing. Wait. Half the time doing nothing? That's probably pretty good, right? Like, whenever I play Sombra, I have, like, 75% just running around the map. That's pretty good. What's funny about these tier lists, and I'm noticing it a lot, you can kind of tell, like, they're probably going up against a good D.Va while they have a Winston on their team who's feeding all the time. This is what I get from this tier list. We have an S tier D.Va. D.Va's really good against Winston. Somehow they always get Winston on their team, and there's always a D.Va on the other team, and the D.Va just dominates the Winston, and then that's what happens. That's where that tier list is. This is a silver tank and support unranked DPS on PC. Now, there's a little bit of context to this D tier, and I'll start with this D tier. Essentially, they said that D.Va feeds in all their games and Mei walls them off all the time. So this automatically puts them in D tier. There was no other reason about whether or not the hero's good, whether or not the hero's bad. It's that in their games, D.Va apparently feeds. Previous tier list, D.Va was S tier because of play of the games and survivability. All right? S tier, we got Wrecking Ball. Not surprised by that, even though we haven't seen Wrecking Ball in S tier the whole time. Well, we start on the first list. Cassidy, Mercy, Ana. Cassidy is really good this season. This seems fine. I'm noticing Mercy is an S tier, which is surprising because, like, Mercy had the nerf, but then, like, Mercy's still been pretty good after the nerfs. Obviously, the Guardian Angel cooldown definitely is a bit rough with how, like, the timing in between, but, like, Mercy overall, like, that Halen output below 50% is so high. Initially, then it evens out after 50%, but... Moira, Kiriko, Brig, Rein, Ramattra, Orisa, Sigma, Soldier, Bastion, Hanzo, Junkrat, Torb, Widow, Tracer... Pharah, Genji, all in A tier. Genji's in A tier? I guess Genji really does dominate some games. I've seen Genji higher up on these tier lists, and it's funny because, like, we look at Genji, we're kind of like C tier, you know, maybe D tier. I mean, no, we usually do like C tier with Genji. And, like, seeing Genji high up on the list, it kind of, I'm starting to understand where Genji's win rate is and, like, how Genji dominates a lot of games. B tier is Zen, Bap, Echo, Junker Queen. See, this is where I expect Junker Queen to be. Ashe. Surprised by the Sim choice. We've seen Sim higher up in the list. Reaper and Sojourn. You know what I think it is with Zen? I think this goes again to the variance of, like, Zenyatta is going to be all over the place on tier lists because you either have a Zen who uses their Discord orb, or you have a Zen who does nothing and doesn't use a healing orb. And you have, like, this variance of, like, Zen either pops off or doesn't. Then C tier is Doomfist, Roadhog, Lucio, Zarya, Sombra, Winston. I am so surprised by Winston on these tier lists. And then Sombra's down here too. Zarya, not surprised by. Lucio, once again, you either have the Lucio who's playing Lucio perfect, has awesome heals, great beat timings, or you have the Lucio who's hard feeding, and that's what we see on these tier lists. I will see Lucio from S tier to D tier. This tier list, they said they have D.Va in the tier list, in D tier, because in their games, apparently D.Va feeds a lot, and then Mei walls them off all the time, so that is purely why they're in D tier. That's it. There's no other reason in it. It's not because the heroes aren't good. It's because in their games, apparently Mei is constantly walling them off. We have one more tier list we're going to look at. This one is a silver DPS and support, bronze tank on PC. One of the concerns they have here, or one of the reasons why their tier list is the way it is, probably for Sim and Torb. No one targets the turrets, is essentially what they're saying here. And then the tiers are based on which teams win or lose based on having a certain hero. Ryan, Kiriko, Sim always win if not mirrored. Okay, so S tier. Reinhardt, Kiriko, Sim. That's the reason. They said if on this tier list, if they ever go up against a Reinhardt, a Sim, or a Kiriko, they just always lose to them. So apparently that's the go-to silver comp right there. If you have a Kiriko, a Reinhardt, and a Sim, you're not losing. There you go. You'll be gold in no time. A tier, we have Ana, Bastion, Mei, Mercy, Torb. Seeing a lot of those heroes around that area, except for Mei, has been a little bit lower on the tier list. Then we have B tier, we have Cassidy, which I'm surprised by that. Cassidy's, in my opinion, more an A tier hero, but obviously, like, very rank dependent. Soldier, Ashe, Wrecking Ball, D.Va, Junkrat, Moira, Orisa, Pharah, Reaper, Sigma, Sojourn, Ramattra, Zen, all in B tier. My biggest surprise here out of all these heroes is, once again, Moira. I expected Moira to be higher up in the tier list. Then we have C tier, we got Widow. I can already tell this is a lot of the rank games are Widow not hitting shots because Widow is all over the tier list too. Bap, Brig. Here's my take on Bap. I think with Bap being in C tier, a lot of it is just understanding how to play Bap. Bap is a hero that is really good at balancing out both damage and heals, but a lot of people may not actually optimize that in certain ranks, right? So Bap is really good at damaging and really good at healing. I've had Baps in my games that will go 12,000 damage, 12,000 healing, and just dominate games. Literally will solo window and just kill 3. Or eliminate 3. You know what I'm saying? So, and then we have Brig, Echo, Genji, Hanzo, Lucio, Sombra, Tracer, Winston, and Zarya. Yeah, what I gather from this tier list is Lucio's not healing in your games. D tier, Doomfist, Roadhog, Junker Queen. I am so surprised by Junker Queen in D tier. I still feel like Junker Queen is such a sleeper pick right now. But, hey, that's what we're seeing. So, we've now looked at about 5 tier lists. Keep in mind, we do have 19 tier lists, but we're going to look at the averaged out through all 19 tier lists here in 1 second. This is the averaged out tier list of all 19 silver tier lists. So, this is a little bit different. We have A+, we have A-, B+, B-. This was look through all the tier lists. Apparently, the average hero tier was B-, the average DPS and tank tier is B-, and the average support tier is B+. No S-tier hero. Keep in mind, in the bronze tier list, the only S-tier hero that we saw was Ramattra. A+ heroes, we got Mercy, we got Reinhardt, we got Ramattra, we got Sigma, we got Kiriko, we have Ana, and we have Junkrat. You know what? Not surprised by that. Honestly, that makes sense. A- tier, we have Torb, Bastion, Sim. No surprise there. Soldier, Zen, Reaper, Cassidy, Sojourn, Wrecking Ball, Moira. I look at this so far and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So if this was like an A tier, even without the A+, A-, this kind of is where I expected most of these heroes. B+ is Orisa, Mei, Pharah, D.Va, Ashe, Widow, and Lucio. And see, that's what I mean about Lucio, by the way. I talked about how Lucio's all over the place on tier lists. Lucio's exactly in the middle, right? Exactly in the middle on this tier list. And then we have for B-, we have Echo, Bap, Hanzo, Genji, Brig, Tracer, Junker Queen. So Junker Queen kind of averaged out where I thought. Like, Junker Queen is in the exact spot that I thought. Like, just kind of in that B tier, kind of slept on a little bit, but still solid. C+ tier, we have Winston, Doomfist, Zarya, Sombra. I will say, Doomfist, Zarya, and Sombra being in C+ tier, that I expect. I am still very surprised by Winston in C+ tier. I really did think Winston would be higher on the tier list. I just feel like Winston's one of those tanks that can be played a lot and can get good value, but it sounds like what happens is a lot of Winstons just kind of jump in, drop their bubble, and then the next time you see them is when they're jumping in again from behind you when they're running back from spawn. That's what I gathered from the tier list. And obviously, if Reaper's an A- tier, you're obviously seeing like a lot of tank busters being played with Zen and Cass, so I get it, you know? And then, to nobody's surprise, in C- tier, we got Roadhog. Roadhog has the recent nerfs. Roadhog has good survivability, but right now, just the nerfs made Roadhog a lot worse. And obviously, once they finally rework Hog, we might see Roadhog move up on that list. I'm not surprised one bit by this. And there you go. There is the averaged out silver tier list. So I hope you enjoyed that. I was surprised by a couple of these, but overall, I think it was a pretty good tier list. If you want to eventually submit a tier list on my Discord, there'll be a channel for that. On top of that, if you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button. Sub to the YouTube if you haven't. And the next tier list we'll be doing will be the gold tier list. So I'm looking forward to that one. I hope you all enjoy. I hope you all have an amazing day/night.